very good evening to our viewers. Thank you for joining us for this week's first edition of the Evening Review. My name is Toivo Njabela. Tonight on the platform, we are welcoming back an old guest of ours, that is Nico Smith. He is a member of Parliament in the National Assembly for the Popular Democratic Movement, PDM. And last week, he posed questions to the Minister of Finance, Ipumbushimi, inquiring about how much the state is spending on state funerals and what are the measures in place to make sure that this money is used exactly for that purpose. Thank you, Uncle Nico, for making time. You have raised very, very important questions. Is it coincidence? Is it related to the late President Sam Nujoma, who was just buried recently? Is that what arose your curiosity, or is it a question that has always been on your mind?
Yeah, no. You see, ever since His Excellency Dr. Mbumba became president, I noticed that state funerals were escalating all of a sudden. And that triggered my mind. And then when the Founding Father funeral started, and I saw what is happening, where first of all, $500,000 was sent to a region for the commemoration services and whatever, funerals there. Mm. I said to myself, it's not possible. It can never be 500,000. Because this is part of my work, to organize big meetings in the regions. Yeah. I know what the meeting is costing. You will not organize a gathering of that magnitude with $500,000. There's no way. And you are giving everything. It's closer to 1.5 to 2 million. That is the more closer amount. Mm. And I would like to be proved wrong. So, and then when I heard that we had to pay 30 million for the body to be transported to the 7 regions, I said, no, the respect that I have, it's not about the, about the Founding Father. It's about the way we are spending money. Yeah. And I'm not aware of anything, any policy or thing that's in place that's regulate state funerals. Mm. How do you get a state funeral? Can your family apply if they think you are important enough, or you were important enough, you did enough for this country, and you deserve a state funeral? Can they apply? Mm. Or how do they decide? Or does the president decide who must get a state funeral, or who? Yeah. What mechanisms are there in place to determine who is to get a state funeral and who not? And also the level.
I think on that point, Uncle Nico, and again, this is not to undo your question here. I know that there's a committee within the Ministry of Veteran Affairs that usually does that. They recommend to the president, and the president approves or disapproves. But still, the question is relevant as to the committee itself. Where does the process start? Is it at the committee level? Yeah. And how do they just decide? Or does someone else, like you said, maybe a family member of the deceased person, go to the committee, then they deliberate before they recommend to the president? So, so your question is valid.
Yeah, we have to know what procedures are followed, to determine who must get a state funeral or who not. And I think also the level of funeral, because all people didn't play the same role. Yeah. If you look at the state funeral, at the moment it's more those struggle heroes that's getting state funerals. But you also have different levels of people, different categories.
Yeah.
You might have had a person who was a general in plan, or a very important person, so he deserves a higher level than this other person who also played an important role but not on the same level. So we have to know, you know, how do they decide who should get a funeral and on what level? And then there must be a budget attached to the different levels. If you are on level A, say the top level, then say there's, for argument's sake, say $3 million available. You know, you can't exceed $3 million. And then when you get to the lower, say number 5, there's only $1 million. So we want to know, you know, who decides? Is it that committee or who decide, you know, what type of funeral should it be? Because if you take, that's why I've asked the question. I would like to know how much money did we spend in the past year on state funerals, on 16 funerals. What is that amount?
So there were 16 during that period.
That is since the president has been appointed.
Bumba,
yeah.
And then Bumba we had 16.
16 in 1 year's time.
Yeah.
You know, it must be a lot of money.
Yeah.
And can't that money or a large part of that money not better be spent if you take the poverty in our country, the suffering in our country, especially now with the rain, you know, the floods and people losing everything they have, and you know, and don't have food to eat. But we are spending huge amounts of money on very, I will say, very expensive funerals.
Well, what would be the alternative? I mean, if somebody important, and I really want our country to expand these gestures beyond just plant fighters and SWAPO members. We want to see an important athlete who died, who made our country you know, proud also to do that. But be that as it may, where do you stop it? Because if 16 people died in that period that you spoke about, and they're all of a particular stature, what was the best way to handle it?
Well, there should be a criteria, there should be a policy that determines who deserve or who can qualify for a state funeral. There must be something on paper that one knows. Because I just think while running, because there's also some business people that got a state funeral. And one doesn't know exactly what was that person's, those persons' roles that make them to deserve a state funeral.
Yeah, and they have the means.
Yeah,
also
and they have the means
to have been buried on their own.
If I take, for instance, if maybe I'm putting my neck on the block by saying this. Say, for instance, a person like old Harold Pupkewitz. Nobody have to explain what he did for this country, for the economy of this country, you know. I think he is one of our top. He and Frans Indongu and those people, you know, they very much on the same level. Doesn't a person like that, because of his contribution in the growth of this country and the development and the role he plays in the economy of this country, and the number of people that he's employing, and and it's all over the country. We all know what that old man did, for the people of this country. Doesn't a person like that also deserve a state funeral? That's why I say that I think we should get a policy. We should know exactly who qualifies, and then the categories that you get, because everybody can't be on the same level. Because you get, as I've said, you get more people who play a more important role than some others. But for me it's important, because for me it's about that we must improve the quality of life of our people out there that's suffering. You can only do that with money. And if you are spending your money, not correctly, on things that could have been spent by other people, because we as family, we have a responsibility towards our people who passed away. It's our responsibility to, if they don't have the money and the means, for us to contribute, to give our father or grandfather or grandmother or whoever a decent funeral. We have to contribute. We have. Now, if somebody qualifies for a state funeral, then I think the contribution by the state should be limited. And those by the people and by the families of those that passed away, I think they should play a bigger role and contribute more, so that we rather use that money that is so necessary to uplift the lives of our people. And if you take, there's more than 1 million people in this country, you can say, that's living under the breadline. But we are having very, very expensive funerals. Can't part of that money being used to uplift the lives of those suffering people? It's for me about this.
So in other words, we have a government that is spending more on the dead than on the living, essentially.
That's why I ask in my question, I want to know what percentage of the budget are being spent on state funerals comparing to education and health, so that we see what are we spending percentage-wise on state funerals and then on education. And I just mentioned those two ministries because they are very close.
Absolutely.
So then when we can get an idea of what is the priorities of the government.
Absolutely. Let's go for a very short break. Uncle Nico, I will be back shortly with Nico Smith.
Feel like I should go. Feel like I should go. feel like I should 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 feel.
Imagine something so ahead of its time. It was designed to fit in with a future that hasn't happened yet.
Great Scott.
That future is here. Get it.
The conversation around state-sponsored funerals continues on the evening review with PDM lawmaker Nico Smith. I just want to read what is reported today in the Namibian in this regard. This article says under President Mbumba, the article lists the people who were buried under state-sponsored funerals. It has here businessman Malaki Anakumba, founding President Sam Nuyoma's sister Frida Daniel Shikongo, former Education Minister Katrina Hansei Marwa, President Hage Geingob, of course, and war veteran Epaphras Paulus. It continues to Heiki Shililifa, Ukolonkadi Chief Daniel Shoya, Saki Aminyala, Temis Kandi, John Amakali, Linda Shihepo, former Ndola Councillor Noah Tohadeleni, Yona Amnyela, Ida Eros, and church leader Asel Lihongo, of course, including most recently President Sam Nujoma. That's under President Mbumba alone, and it looks a lot.
Yeah.
So I wonder how much money, because what I understand, and I can be corrected, what I understand is that the allocation, the budgetary allocation, because you have an official funeral, a state funeral, and a hero's funeral. And I'm told that the allocation is equal to all these things, to all these levels. What the only difference is perhaps, your gun salutes and all these things, those added things. But in terms of budget allocation, I was told a year ago or so that it's quite the same amount. So that's a lot of money if it's the same amount.
Yeah. No, that is my problem, and I can't believe for one moment that the amount will be the same for the three different levels. Nobody will convince me of that.
Yeah.
You can't have the lowest one getting the same money than the top state funeral, because the things are totally different, are being done totally different. More people will come to the funeral, and the food that's going to be served will be different, and all those we know these type of things. We attended many of them, so we know it can never be the same. That's why I said we should know, the public out there should know these things, for what our money is being spent for, and what are the amounts, and whether we are satisfied with it or not. And then, but my main thing is, who is to decide that there should be a state funeral, and what is the criteria? Must it be?
That question is important, because when I look at this list that I just read you, there isn't also much diversity in terms of, I mean, a lot of these people, a lot of these names appear to be from one area in the country, one ethnic group even.
Yeah.
I think with the exception of 2 or 3 people here out of the 16. So I think Namibians in other areas would also demand to say, but...
And also, Toibu, I saw in that article that you referred just now to, is that one official, when the reporter apparently asked him about the tenders for the funeral of the president and also the funeral of Dr. Kleinkop. Where were those tenders published?
Yeah.
I can't remember seeing tenders for those funerals in your newspaper.
Yeah, I saw two, but I'll tell you what was strange about the 2 adverts that I saw. One was for Oshodon Jupa. Another one, I think, was for one of the southern regions there. And it was people hid behind the agency of the whole situation. So the public notice will be put out today, and the deadline for submitting is the next day, like literally 24 hours. And you wonder, because you need your social security papers in order, you need all your good standing certificate in order, and then you get told that tomorrow the whole thing, as if those who put out these documents have their people in mind. Maybe they have even alerted them already in advance to say, get your papers ready, we are putting out this thing tomorrow just to tick off the box.
Yeah. You see, I also look at the tender board circular, you know, if there were not tenders in there. But I couldn't find.
Yeah.
And then it was very strange to me. I said, somewhere something is not right.
Yeah.
Like, people were geared to make this state funeral business quite a lucrative business. And they have the right people at the right places who decide on allocating these tenders. And it was said that the procurement board handled it. I will go into this. I want to know. And I will also ask whether the procurement board must tell us whether they have handled the tender process of whatever services were rendered at these funerals. Because to use or to misuse the name of the tender board is also very wrong. So I will go into this and make sure, find out, you know, whether the tender board really, you know, handled the tenders for those funerals, because it's huge money, it's big money. And we have to know, because if you, it's a sad thing that one should use funerals to go into corruption. But to me, to be honest, if things are being done this way and this type of money are being used, then to me it smells of corruption. That things are not done above board, not where everybody can have the opportunity to tender. Like you are saying, if you get 24 hours to submit your tender, if you are not forewarned and prepare yourself beforehand, then you will not make it. You will not be able.
There's no way
you know, to tender. There's no way.
Especially in those regions, sometimes some documents, some key documents are to be gotten from Windhoek. Your social security
and
things
all that, a good standing and
it's not something that you get easily in the regions. But I think we've done justice to that topic. In closing, Uncle Nico, I want us to talk about the situation that is happening in South Africa, and might, you never know, in the future come to Namibia as well. We have the Afrikaner community in South Africa, or or people within that community who are agitating to Donald Trump. Donald Trump is in the USA that this massacre of particularly white Afrikaner farmers, and of course I'm raising this because we have also a very strong farming community of the Afrikaners in Namibia. This idea that there's a massacre against white Afrikaners, what is your take on that?
That is untrue. I'm not aware about massacres, you know, of white people in South Africa. That there were farm murders, that's true. But it's murders. And it's not so much organized or, you know, sort of campaign against the white people to murder them. I don't see it like that. I see it as criminal activities and not political orientated. That the person are being murdered because he's white. I think it's very wrong, and I think Trump did us terrible harm. I was so angry, and I feel so disgusted that a person from the United States, whether he's the president or what gives him the right to interfere in the affairs of another country, sovereign country, like South Africa, or even for that matter in Namibia. And to my friends, I phoned my friends in South Africa, and also here, you know, it's a common thing amongst us, you know, we are talking. And I haven't met one white person who said that I'm moving to United States. Said, no, that is the last place where I want to go. Me, myself, to be honest, I was a few times in the United States. I'm telling you, if you want me to go to the United States, for whatever reason, you will have to pay me to go there, and you will have to pay me good. I will not go there because I like to go there, and not at all. And a lot of white people are feeling like that towards the Americans. What I hate about this is that they think they are the international policemen. They can police everyone, every country, and what they tell you must do, or they cut your water and electricity. You know, meaning that they will boycott you and all those type of things. And to me, that is totally unacceptable.
Yeah.
We are sovereign countries. We have the right to run our countries the way we do. If it was true what Trump was saying, what is happening in South Africa, there would have been a civil war long ago. Yeah. Long ago. If it was really true that the white people are massacred and, you know, murdered, you know,
genocide.
Yeah, you know, it's just, you know, unacceptable to come with nonsense like that. That is not true. The same if you come with stories here that there's some or other campaign against the white people in Namibia. I will be the first one who stand up and say, you know, why don't I know about it? You know, what campaign? Because us here is, I think we are the most lucky people, luckiest people, all of us, not only white people, black people, you know, for the peace and stability that we have here. We have a little bit crime, but that you have everywhere. But that is crime. That's not political orientated.
Absolutely.
And so I think, and I want to say to the people out there, please don't give any attention or credit to this nonsense. And I want to say it's nonsense that Trump is talking. It seems to me every morning that when he's getting up, then he's angry with himself.
He's angry with himself.
Yeah.
No, thank you, Uncle. I think
we are blessed. We are blessed for the peace and stability. And I always say, all these years, and you know, all the majority of the SWAPO leaders are very good friends of mine. And I always say to them, I always sort of caution them. I said, you are You are the majority party. You are the government. Please don't mess up.
Yeah.
See to it that your party is, the structures, everything is there. That we have, because peace and stability comes from the roots.
Absolutely.
And if the roots are not in order, then you will get more trouble up.
Absolutely.
And I always say to him, please,
Yeah.
you must not mess up. Huh? I say that, please, you SWAPO people, you must not mess up. And you are our government.
Yeah.
We acknowledge you. Let's keep peace and stability. That is what we want.
Absolutely. Thank you, Uncle Nico, for coming to the platform.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Toyo.
Yeah, wonderful. That is Nico Smith. He's a lawmaker in the National Assembly with PDM, sharing his views on the state of state funerals in the country, and also giving us reflections on the so-called white genocide in South Africa. Thank you for watching.